Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees sweep the Chicago White Sox, and in doing so, they clinch a playoff berth, which they achieved with their walk-off win in Game 1. But they have also tied the Toronto Blue Jays for the AL East lead. Now, the Blue Jays had the tiebreaker, and so now we go into the final weekend of the regular season. Yankees home against the Orioles, Blue Jays home against the Rays. And the Yankees need to do one game better than Toronto to win the American League East and subsequently have home field advantage throughout the American League playoffs with the 1 seed. So a lot on the line. The Yankees have kind of just done what they've needed to do to give this a realistic shot, right? I've kind of laid it out, kind of series by series, what needed to be done. Anything less than what we're seeing here would have been, to me, just too much of a long shot. As it is, this is going to still be difficult. Now, we'll preview the Yankee-Orioles series. What I didn't think would happen, which is happening, is the Yankees will be facing Trevor Rogers in the first game of this series. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. He pitched well against the Yankees just a week ago in Baltimore. So that makes things a little more difficult. And the Yankees will also face Kyle Bradish the last game of the series. So, and this is a Baltimore team that has been playing well, despite the fact the Yankees did take 3 or 4 in Baltimore. They're playing some pretty good baseball. Now, it's at Yankee Stadium, which helps. And then on the Toronto side of things, they're going to be, home against the Rays and all the divisional matchups. And, I think the Rays can be competitive. Like just today, unfortunately, Yandy Diaz did leave the game due to a groin injury. Apparently, he's day-to-day, right? So his season may not be over, but it's the little things like that could just make the difference. And, there is not much margin for error for the Yankees, of course. And I don't even know that one loss, that's the most that you could possibly afford, right? Could the Yankees go 2-1 and the Blue Jays go 1-2? Sure, that's possible. But I really think you got to take this from a game-by-game approach. And really, the Yankees kind of, to me, have to win each game, and then you hope Blue Jays can go 2-1. And another thing, in kind of looking at this ideally, is that within the first 2 games of the series for Toronto and the Yankees, that they can win both and Toronto split. So you can go into the last game of the season in a situation where you control that destiny, which would be huge. I mean, not to say that the Yankees, couldn't win and trying to lose the last day and leapfrog them, but I think that that's the spot you want to be in. You want to, at some point, be able to control their destiny. Yankees still, even though they tied Toronto, they still don't have that. They need Toronto to lose. That is a prerequisite to this happening. If Toronto sweeps Tampa Bay, that's it. Now, what also came from the sweep is the Yankees guaranteed themselves of no worse than finishing as the 4 seed in the American League and will host the wild card series if that's where they are. If they don't win the division, they'll be the number 4 seed, and most likely it'll be against the Red Sox. It's not definite. There's a chance it could be the Tigers. But I'd say at least 75% chance, if not maybe a little more, that it would be the Yankees versus the Red Sox. And that won't be easy, right? Garrett Crochet has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. And of course, Max Fried's been great. Carlos Rodon as well. Yankees have some starting pitching on their side too. But the difference here is drastic, very much so. And if you're a Yankee fan, you want to see the Blue Jays and Red Sox battling it out, in a 3-game series, and the Yankees can just sit and wait to see the winner of that series come to Yankee Stadium for Game 1 of the LDS. But what it does lead you to, and we'll get into the White Sox series here, is just a very entertaining and fun weekend. Now, look, that can change very quickly, though, right? The Yankees lose it to Trevor Rogers, and the Blue Jays win their first game against Tampa, and all of a sudden the juice is kind of gone, because then you need a perfect scenario at that point. And that's where I've said as well, you cannot afford a single day where you lose a game to Toronto. That can't happen. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So you have to at least keep things neutral. And that's the thing, right? With 3 days to go, 3 games to go, it's a matter of 2 of those days being neutral, 1 of those games being a positive. And that's going to be the way it has to happen. It sucks the Yankees don't have the tiebreaker. I've said that was important. as soon as Toronto did what they did against the Yankees head to head, I had said that, look, like that could come back to bite. And ultimately it may, but hopefully it won't. So, Yankees, White Sox, this was actually a much more competitive series than you'd be led to believe. Um, especially game one. Not as much game two, even though that one was relatively close for a bit. And game three, like, we'll talk about that one too. Like, that could have easily not gone in the Yankees' favor. Um, but let's start with game one. And we'll try to get through this relatively quickly because, again, I want to, I've already done so, but want to kind of further dissect the Baltimore series coming up. But for the Yanks, it was Luis Gil, who looked like the results for Luis Gil continue. And I guess, you know what? I may as well talk about it now. Luis Gil is scheduled for the game three start in Baltimore, not in Baltimore, home against Baltimore Sunday. So if there is if that holds true, which may not be the case, right? Like if somehow the Yankees have already been eliminated, like if the Yankees, that game means nothing for the Yankees on Sunday, they'll probably pull Gil back. But it gives you a little bit of an inkling to the fact that Schlittler probably is the one that'll be lined up for a game three in the wild card series, based on the schedule of things. So Luis Gil, like, I think Schlittler has been the better pitcher. I think everything being completely equal, Cam Schlittler should be the one that pitches over Luis Gil. However, a couple of variables to consider. If it's against the Red Sox, Luis Gil has amazing career numbers against Boston. Cam Schlittler's never faced the Red Sox. Another small thing, in terms of looking at the home road splits, Luis Gil is a better pitcher at home. Cam Schlittler's a better pitcher on the road. Just things to think about. And again, none of this may come to fruition at all, but we now know for sure, nothing's been announced, but that Schlittler probably would be your game three starter. But anyway, back to Gil. Really makes one mistake. When I think of the series, like Yankee starting pitching, like it was one mistake by Gil. It was really one mistake by Rodon. Max Fried really didn't make any notable mistakes in his game, but Gil goes 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. And for the White Sox, Shane Smith, pitched pretty well. A lot of walks for him. 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, and 8 strikeouts. He pitched well. As far as the Yankee lineup goes, look, the Yankees, and what I kind of I like the fact that these games mean something. I like the Yankees they can't take their foot off the gas. I think that's actually a good thing, regardless of whether they get this sort of mini bye or not. What we're seeing now, I just want to just mention, not even so much the lineup. I want to mention some things that I'm noticing. Like Anthony Volpe, he started all 3 games at short and is playing a lot better defense. Anthony Volpe, as of now, is probably going to be your game 1 starting shortstop. And I don't have a terrible problem with that. What we know too, though, is if Volpe struggles, like Caballero, like the good thing is it's not like you're landlocked. If Volpe does struggle, they'll have no problem starting Caballero. And look, the fact of the matter is that Caballero, he is a weapon off the bench. Not only that, Caballero against lefties, Brian McMahon is not going to start against lefties at third base. That's just not going to happen. So whether it be Caballero or Rosario, that's going to be a thing. So just wanted to mention that as far as Volpe. Look, we'll talk about Volpe. Volpe was a key reason why the Yankees won game 1. Like, we'll talk about what he did in the 9th inning. And then his buddy, Austin Wells, he had a good series as well. And Wells started games 1 and 3. He did not start game 2. It's interesting. They had Ben Rice catch Max Fried for the first time this season, which is good forward thinking. Like, the scenario may exist in the playoffs where Ben Rice does catch Fried. Now, here's how I see it. Against righties, it is going to be Rice at first and Wells catching. Like, there is no scenario where Paul Goldschmidt will be starting. That is point blank. Against lefties, it will be Goldschmidt at first. And then it's kind of a question of who's catching. I don't quite know that answer. And to be honest with you, I'm a huge Ben Rice fan. I think he is just an amazing hitter and has such a bright future. But look, like, I don't really have a strong opinion as far as in that situation against the lefty, because Austin Wells has been more than serviceable against lefties and does provide you better defense. Like, I'm not going to go crazy either way there, but I think it is good to at least have tried Rice with Fried. Definitely. Um, anyway, game one, and I feel like just in general in this series, a lot of missed opportunities. Like the Yankees had chances to really break things wide open in kind of all three games. I guess I'm more thinking about games two and three, but I think game one holds true as well. Like, and White Sox, their starters early on were able to kind of keep the Yankees at bay. Like, it never got to a point. Game two, I guess, eventually became a little bit lopsided, but like, you know, this was a competitive series. You know, even though the Yankees swept the White Sox, and you kind of think, oh, like ho hum, it wasn't quite that easy. So in the second inning, it ends up being a scenario where it is first and third, one out is what it is. Um, Volpe had just singled. Uh, Chisholm goes to third, and Austin Wells gets an RBI double. Austin Wells has really been good, and it's kind of been for a while now. I mean, he has been streaky, because I also think like around that Red Sox series at Fenway Park, he was horrible. So it's not as if it's been completely clean the whole way through. But if cookie cutter his numbers probably for the last month about it, I think they're looking pretty good. And Wells gets an RBI double to give the Yankees a 1-0 lead. However, Trent Grisham on the second, third, one out strikes out, and then Cody Bellinger with the bases loaded flies out. So there was a chance to give Luis Gil a little bit more of a cushion. That doesn't happen. Let's jump all the way. Let's just jump all the way to the sixth. With one out, Kyle Teal dunks a single into the outfield in front of Trent Grisham and Aaron Judge. This can't happen, and I place more of the blame on Grisham. Judge ideally kind of gets out of the way. I know Judge is a big, imposing figure, but Trent Grisham needs to take charge of that ball. That can't drop in. So, and at that point, Luis Gil was cruising. Gil had a rough first inning. He threw probably 27, 28 pitches in the first. He got out of it unscathed. But the one mistake that Gil makes is to Colson Montgomery, the lefty, with an absolute bomb shot to right center, 19th homer of the year, 2-1 White Sox. And so that misplay by Grisham and to a lesser degree Judge looms very large at this point. Let's go to the sixth. Like, this is a game where like there's some interesting sort of discussions as far as late game situation, pinch hitting, stuff like that. After a Chisholm Jr. single to start the sixth, and mind you, a lefty is pitching for the White Sox, Tyler Gilbert. Ahmed Rosario pinches for McMahon, and Rosario strikes out. It's actually a pretty rough game for Rosario off the bench here, who normally has success against lefties, does strike out there, and then Chisholm gets picked off. Like, Chisholm and Caballero, like, they need to be smarter as far as that. We've seen it way too much with Jazz, and obviously there's that steal potential, there's that speed. Like, there's a lot of positives that come from that, but you got to be smart. So the inning kind of gets killed right there. Fernando Cruz comes on in the seventh, pitches a scoreless seventh inning, which was good. Let's go to the eighth. Tim Hill comes on, gets the lefties out, and then gives up a single to the righty. They bring on Luke Weaver to finish out that inning. Bottom of the eighth, the Yankees have an opportunity against the righty, Grant Taylor. And it's a 1-out single for Rice. Caballero pinch runs for him with 2 out. Chisholm Jr. singles. Unfortunately, the way it went into the right field corner, Caballero was unable to score. Even with his speed, he couldn't. And they leave Ahmed Rosario to hit for himself. And again, like, it's one of those situations where the alternative situation isn't great. And so even though the Yankees have these options and chess pieces, sometimes you're in positions where it's a little unideal. And that was kind of here. And Rosario strikes out looking a pretty ugly at bat for Rosario in a situation where Chisholm got the second on a wild pitch. It was second and third, 2 out. Rosario strikes out. We go to the ninth. Luke Weaver gives up a leadoff double. Mind you, at this point, Caballero remains in the game. Goldschmidt comes in the game. Rosario's out. Brooks Baldwin leadoff double, and then Luke Weaver is able to get the next 3 guys out. That was really big. To keep it at 1 right there was massive. So we go to the bottom of the ninth. The Yankees are in a situation where on the scoreboard, like, the Red Sox are beating the Blue Jays. Like, the opportunity is there for them. And luckily, by the skin of their teeth, they get it done in the ninth. Lefty Brandon Eiser comes in. Anthony Volpe gets a leadoff single. That is big. Anthony Volpe, there's been a lot of moments eighth, ninth inning situations this year that he has actually come through. To be fair to him, there's a lot of moments in my mind that I can remember. Um, the homer off of Fairbanks in the ninth to tie it up. The homer against the Braves to, I believe, to tie it up in the eighth. He had a big homer against the Marlins tied up in the eighth. A lot of them were via the home run, but there's some others as well where it's been a real struggle for Volpe. And I'm not so bullish on him like in the future. But Anthony Volpe with a huge single to start this ninth inning, and then Austin Wells, who like similarly, I remember he had that huge hit against the Mariners against Munoz, and and Wells's career has bared down and come through in some of these late game scenarios. He gets a big time single to make it first and second, no out, and so now Trent Grisham is up, and for Grisham, like you had at the time you had Slater on the bench and Dominguez, and this to me would have ideally, and look, I'm not always a bunt guy. I'm not. But this was a situation where against the lefty, now granted, Grisham, not really. He didn't really hit this ball that hard. That's what I kind of thought. But wanted to check the exit velocity there, which was like less than 80 miles per hour. Grisham hits a double play. And I would have been totally fine with them intentionally walking Judge, which is what they did anyway, and having it be a situation where it's Bellinger bases loaded, one out against the lefty. Like, I'm totally fine with that scenario, knowing Grisham struggles against lefties. Now, the ironic thing is that Grisham actually did some good things results-wise and not the next couple of games against lefties, but the point is his numbers are not good against lefties. And I don't know, like maybe Slater, whoever was your best bunt, and maybe you didn't have a good bunt guy. Like, I think in my mind, Slater probably would have been the best one. I don't think Dominguez would have been a great bunter. I don't think Grisham, again, it's not an easy solution. The Yankees end up winning. So like this conversation went out the window, but if they lost, I think that would have been a controversial one as far as the way they went about it. It's a double play. And so now it's runner on third, 2 out, and they intentionally walk Judge. And so now Cody Bellinger's up, who, despite Bellinger's clutchness, like he's been struggling a little bit lately. Like he looks a bit off, but he's still able to kind of like do what he needs in certain spots. He is able to work out a 7-pitch at bat against Iser. And on that 7th pitch, it's ball 4. And it's a wild pitch that scores Anthony Volpe. So a huge moment right there. A huge, huge moment. Because who knows, like, let's say it's just a straight walk without the wild pitch, then it's bases loaded for Caballero. Now, we know what ends up happening with that, but like, it's not a great situation. So it ties it up 2-2. Volpe scores from third. Steven Wilson, the righty, comes on, and José Caballero works out a 9-pitch at bat and dunks it in front of Michael A. Taylor into center field. Aaron Judge scores. Yankees walk it off, win 3-2, and they clinch a playoff berth. So a pretty fun moment. Like, and it's ironic. When the Yankees have clinched playoff berths, a lot of it has been, in recent years, have been walk-off hits. Walk-off plays. Just kind of coincidental that that's happened, but there's been a lot of it. And I don't know why Michael A. Taylor didn't dive. It almost felt like a business decision. Like, he's on the White Sox, like they're going nowhere. But like, I'm not saying, I don't know. To me, it looked weird. The fact that he let that drive in front of him, like once he did that, it was over. I'm glad he didn't dive for it. Because then if he did and caught it, we're going extra innings. But Caballero, the hero, despite, it's funny, Volpe did a lot of good things, but Caballero was the one that, is the hero with the walk-off hit. And that was a fun one. Like, it wasn't pretty. It should have never been that close, but the Yankees find a way to tie it up in the ninth and then win it 3-2. So, yeah, it definitely goes down as one of the more exciting wins of the season. Now let's go to game 2. Game 2, that's kind of the Max Fried, Aaron Judge show. And probably more so Judge. Definitely more Judge, but Fried as well. Let's first talk about Fried. Wins to go to 19-5, so he will end up with the MLB lead in wins with 19. Crochet and Rodon have 18. We're not going to see them again this season, either of them, barring absolute craziness. So Max Fried is, and what sucks too? Look, he was very close to like having a chance to get a 20th win. Just the way, he missed that start with the blister. And then just the way things kind of lined up here, they were more postseason conscious, because he could have pitched Tuesday, Sunday. Like, that could have been a thing, but they're not going to do that. And I don't blame them for that. But Max Fried, 19-5, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. ERA ends up at 2.86. He had that couple, he had that like month and a half stretch of struggles, but around that was just, fantastic. For the White Sox, they had an opener, the lefty Frazier Ellard, who got into some trouble in the first inning, but actually didn't give up a run. But it was really the bulk guy was righty Jonathan Cannon, who loses to go to 4-10, 4 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts for Cannon. In this game, it would be Rice behind the plate, catching Fried for the first time this season. Goldschmidt would be in the starting lineup for this one, and so Austin Wells would take a seat. And for the Yanks, they get that early chance in the first inning, 3 straight walks. However, Stanton flies out to shallow right, no advance. Rice strikes out. And then they bring on the righty to face Goldschmidt, Cannon, and he strikes out Goldschmidt. Second inning, White Sox take the lead on a sac fly by Lenyn Sosa to score Miguel Vargas to give the White Sox one of the lead. And really, there was a chance for more. An error by Jazz kind of opens up a possibility for the White Sox, but Fried's able to escape just down 1-0. Then we go to the second. 1-out double Volpe, 2-out Walt Grisham, and then Aaron Judge hits his 50th home run of the year. So that is his 4th season of 50 home runs for Aaron Judge, joining, I believe, the only other players who've ever done that, I believe, was McGwire, Sosa, and Babe Ruth. So, more than impressive for Judge. He wasn't done on this night. And the Judge Cal Raleigh MVP race is one of the most fascinating ones I can remember. Really, of course, I want Judge to win it. And in a lot of ways, I think he deserves to. But what Cal Raleigh's done, he's got 60 home runs. He may tie or surpass Judge's 62 home run mark from 2022. I'm hoping that does not happen. But even if he doesn't do that, you can really go either way with that. It's a fascinating, thing to consider. Judge versus Raleigh for the AL MVP. But a big 3-0 over for Judge. He's been hot, as you kind of figured he might, and hopefully he can carry it into the postseason. 3-1 Yankees, bottom of the third, 1-out triple for Ben Rice, RBI single Paul Goldschmidt to make it 4-1, RBI double Jazz Chisholm Jr. to score Goldschmidt to make it 5-1. And then at this point, Fried is just locked in. He goes 7 strong, which was great for bullpen purposes. They bring in Wells as a defensive replacement for Rice in the 8th. Devin Williams comes out in the 8th with an easy 1-2-3 inning to keep it a 4-run game. And then Yankees tack on. So Bednar was warming up, but didn't have to come in, because what happens is with 2 out off of the lefty Cam Boozer, McMahon walks, and then Trent Grisham, lefty, homers. 34th homer of the year makes it 7-1 Yanks, and then back-to-back homers. Judge does it again. 2nd homer of the night, 51st of the season, makes it 8-1 Yankees. And then in the 9th inning, Paul Blackburn, who pitches a 1-2-3 inning. We're not going to see Paul Blackburn on the postseason. I don't know this for 100% sure, but there's a good chance we won't. But, besides that really, really bad Blackburn outing and that ugly Red Sox loss on that Saturday afternoon at Yankee Stadium, look, it's all been mop-up situations, but Paul Blackburn's actually been pretty solid in those spots. Again, nothing more than just, something to talk about now, but it's not going to be relevant, really beyond that. So, Game 3, Yankees going for the sweep, and a much-needed sweep, considering the fact that the Blue Jays, Crochet beat the Blue Jays on Game 2 Wednesday night. The Blue Jays were able to avoid the sweep against the Red Sox, and so the Yankees had to win. Again, you couldn't take anything less than what it is now. And this was a game that felt like it was kind of in the balance in the middle of it. Could have gone either way, but Carlos Rodon really makes one mistake. He pitched pretty well. He wasn't dominant, but he gets the job done. Wings to go to 18-9, very impressive record, and a great regular season for Rodon. Almost in line with Fried. Fried was a little bit better, but Rodon had tons of strikeouts, an amazing opposing batting average. Rodon, just from what we've seen from 2023 to 2024 to this season, is great. So he ends with a 3.09 ERA of the season, 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. For the White Sox, it was Davis Martin. He goes 4 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Um, and the Yankees would score early, but it could have been more. I mean, again, it's one of those things again where the first 3 batters reach. Ben Rice gets an RBI ground out to make it 1-0, but then Stanton strikes out and Chisholm grounds out. So kind of off the hook a little bit there. And then in the second inning, the White Sox tie it up on a sac fly by Corey Julks to score Miguel Vargas. It's 1-1. Bottom of the second, another missed opportunity for the Yanks where, you have bases loaded for Cody Bellinger with 2 outs and he grounds out. And then in the top of the fourth, a 1-out walk to Miguel Vargas. And the one mistake that Rodon makes is an opposite field 2-run homer for Michael A. Taylor. His 9th homer of the year gives the White Sox a 3-1 lead in the fourth. And then in the bottom of the fifth is when the Yankees get it done. 1-out single Judge, then Bellinger single, and they bring on the lefty Tyler Gilbert, whose glove had to be confiscated because of, I guess, potential sticky substance. They didn't eject him from the game. He didn't have it on his hands, but they made him replace his glove. A real nice lefty at bat for Ben Rice to make it bases loaded. And look, I think the Yankees catch a big break here. Giancarlo Stanton, he hits the ball really hard. It was 109-mile-per-hour exit velocity. However, it's a play that I think that third baseman Curtis Mead could have made. And I think, like, for example, Ryan McMahon probably makes that play, but Mead is unable to field it. It just goes by him and into the left field corner. And it's a bases clearing double for Giancarlo Stanton. That was huge. So the game goes, instead of 3-1 down, it's 4-3 up. Rodon is able to provide a scoreless 6th. Yankees do end up with the bases loaded 2 outs for Ben Rice in the 6th, and he flies out. Luke Weaver comes on for the 7th, pitches a 1-2-3 7th inning to keep it at 4-3. And then the Yankees add a big insurance run in the 7th off of Mike Vasil. Stan leadoff walk, Dominguez pinch runs for him. Chisholm Jr. grounds out, Dominguez to second, then Austin Wells with a big RBI double to make it 5-3. So again, Wells continuing to really hit the ball well. No pun intended. We go to the 8th, and Devin Williams was really cruising along and has been amazing lately. However, it's a little bit of a speed bump. He gets a couple of strikeouts, but then he walks Colson Montgomery. Edgar Cuero singles, and then Miguel Vargas hits a line shot that Cody Bellinger makes a great play in left field on. So Devin Williams has been very good lately, and that continues, but just a little bit of a footnote that, like, this 8th inning went from potential striking out the side, which you've seen a lot from Williams, to, like, almost losing the lead. But able to get out of it. Again, nice play by Bellinger. Top of the 9th, David Bednar comes in, and he does what he does. Pretty uneventful 1-2-3 inning from David Bednar, including a strikeout. It's Bednar's 26th save of the season with the Pirates and Yankees combined, and the Yankees get the sweep, go to 91-68, and that's the same record, of course, as the Blue Jays right now. So let's just look at this Yankees-Orioles series. Trevor Rogers versus Will Warren is a straight rematch of last Friday in Baltimore, which Baltimore won. Now, Will Warren has had a couple of, he pitched pretty well in that outing. He made one mistake to Ryan Mountcastle. So to be half glass full, Warren's had really good numbers at home. He just pitched pretty well against Baltimore and had another decent start against Baltimore at Yankee Stadium earlier in the year, but it's going to be tough. Trevor Rogers has a 1.35 ERA in the season in 17 starts with a 0.87 whip. The Yankees have the work cut out for them. If the Yankees can leave Friday night neutral, I'm okay with that. I'm just going to say that right now. I am very much okay with that, knowing the nature of this matchup. Game 2 is the most advantageous one for the Yankees, and it's Sugano versus Schlittler. Schlittler pitched well against the Orioles in his start. I think he ran a little bit out of gas towards the end, but it was still a strong outing for Schlittler. In the Sunday game at Baltimore, Sugano, with him, this will be the 4th time the Yankees are facing him. The Yankees have had more and more success as time has gone on. Sugano's had struggles. He is someone you have to hit in comparison to Trevor Rogers and Sunday starter Kyle Bradish. Kyle Bradish pitched really well against the Yankees, and since he's come back from injury in his 5 starts, he's pitched very, very well. 39 strikeouts in 28 innings, and this will be against Luis Gil. And the Orioles have not faced Luis Gil this season. So it's not going to be easy. I think the Yankees may have to sweep. If they win 2 out of 3, then you have to hope the Blue Jays lose 2 out of 3. I will be absolutely thrilled. It's no small feat if the Yankees can get this done. This is a big deal to the point where, like, if they don't, it's going to be a little bit of a buzzkill. There's no, like, as well as the Yankees have been one of the best teams in baseball now for the last month. And if they fall short, like, even if they sweep and the Blue Jays sweep, like, in some ways, it's like, damn, like, you're not going to feel great about it. But let's see what happens. The Yankees have set themselves up in a spot where this can happen, which would be really quite the accomplishment when you just go back, like, early in that Twins. I mean, we're not even talking that long ago. We're talking a week and a half ago, less than that. Like, this seemed just about done. And then really in the middle of that Twin series for the Yankees, in the middle of that Blue Jay Rays series where the tide started to turn, and just slowly but surely, the Yankees have chipped away at this. And they've now tied the Blue Jays, and they just need to gain one more game. They need the outright lead to win this division. And we will talk about it after the Orioles series. We will find out. Will the Yankees be getting ready for a wild card series best of 3, or will they be sitting back with a bye with the number 1 seed in the American League? So it's a big difference. It's exciting, and we'll see what happens. But the Yankees sweep the White Sox, clinch a playoff berth, are now tied for the AL East lead with the Blue Jays. And now it's one more series this season. It's at Yankee Stadium, and it's against the Baltimore Orioles.